This is Comic Geek Speak, special Infinite Crisis episode number 3. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Matt.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
And welcome to our special episode all about Infinite Crisis Issue 3. We're speechless, apparently. There are 6 people in this room and no one's saying a damn thing.
We all scrambled for our croup sheets.
Yeah. Whose jaw dropped while you read it?
For which part?
Pretty much like the last 10 pages.
Yeah, I have to say, it was good, the last 10 pages, yeah. Certainly geared you up for issue 4.
I certainly have some questions about that, though.
I concur.
If I don't remember, was it issue 1 or issue 2 where they finally broke out Superman?
Issue 1.
In 1 they cracked the dimension
last
or
page of
whatever?
Issue 1 they were coming out.
So if they just got out, then how did Superboy get out before?
I think it's all
Luther.
I think it's his plan. I think they're working Superman of Earth 2. They're just filling him with.
But you didn't answer my question.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Shut up. They're telling him these things about, the Earth needs to live. Lois is dying. We can't get out of here. But in the meanwhile, he could get out, and he's playing Superman of Earth 2 like a fiddle. And I think it's all just a ruse, and it's all going to come out later on.
Well, it's not just Superboy that couldn't get out. It was also Lex, because if you remember at the end of Villains United, that's when you see who Mockingbird is, which turned out to actually be Alexander.
No,
because it was the two
the
Luthors.
Luthor that's controlling the society is Alexander Luthor.
Right,
Mockingbird controls the Secret Six. That's our Luthor. Alexander Luthor is the other one, so he's been able to get out for a long time. So it's all just, we're all going to find out that, I assume that eventually we're going to find out that it's all been one big plan.
Is he the one that was the one that was the president, or is that
No,
the other one? Okay.
No, the Mockingbird is.
And just for everybody who's listening now, this is going to be an all spoiler issue episode of our show, so you know the drill.
Yeah.
On a related note, I did just finish reading the first 2 trades that came out, the OMAC and Day of Vengeance.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm halfway caught up with my miniseries. My next shipment will have the other 2. I wasn't expecting to like it at all, but I liked Day of Vengeance more than OMAC.
Do you find that it was a necessary, do you understand Crisis more because of it, or just it just kind of adds to it, but really the status quo is different?
It adds to it, but you don't need to read them to understand Crisis as much as anybody can understand what's going on.
Sure.
Although this is a whole lot more understandable than the original Crisis.
Good. What are you
Well, I was just going to say, if we're going to start getting into this...
That's the idea.
Oh, okay, thanks. Just jump and start here with the scene of how Aquaman pretty much is shoving his trident into one of the villains, and just how made a big deal with Wonder Woman killing somebody, but then in the first page at the bottom panel, bam, you have Aquaman killing somebody.
Is that Manta?
No, that's
like Shark.
King Shark. Yeah, and I know he's not dead because
Oh.
he's going to be in the Aquaman Sword of Atlantis series later on, so he gets better.
Oh, see, I thought... Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you can see it is a shark guy now. When I first read it, I thought it was Manta, because he's talking to Manta, and then he stabs somebody, so I just assumed it was Manta.
Yeah, that first page was a little tough to follow. I'm reading it.
Yeah,
and
I don't
trying to
really
figure out who
understand what
everybody
happened.
Well,
We had to say goodbye to Neptune Perkins.
I know.
that's for sure.
Yeah, as a Golden
Who?
Age guy,
This guy down here who got bit in half by the other shark.
yeah, it's another reason for
Where,
Roy
what?
Thomas to get pissed off.
This little guy down here.
Yeah, with the trident on his shirt.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, on the previous
Oh.
page, he's getting chewed up.
see, now it's stuff like that like Peter has said before, fills art is just not quite there because it's a little hard to. It was a little hard for me to see it.
Some of it's the coloring too, like since they're going with that underwater effect, it's like everybody's bluish.
Yeah.
There's that blue hue to everything. But what about that? What about Aquaman killing? You know, like you were saying, you know, everybody's making a big deal about Wonder Woman. See, me personally, I don't have anything wrong with it, especially because he is who he is. But it's interesting that.
Well, I mean, it does. I mean, a war. If Wonder Woman, she was born as a warrior. That's how she was raised. For her to kill, it, to me, isn't that big of a deal. But I was just looking at it, that all of a sudden that had to become a big deal with her and where she's going, her storyline. But Aquaman's doing it right here. You know, it doesn't seem like anybody's all up in arms about it.
Because he's the same. I mean, Aquaman's the same thing. He's a warrior.
He's royalty.
He's the leader of the troops in the battle and all that stuff. You know.
I think that's where you have your little bit of a difference. He's killing invaders into his land, as opposed to where she just twisted Max's head around. And again, I don't have any problem with it because you're right. She's a warrior, and that was her way of ending the conflict.
I do have one problem with OMAC. I don't understand why they can't find the satellite. Okay, the freaking thing's got to be in orbit, right? And for Superman to fly around the orbit until he crashes into it, even if it's invisible or cloaked, I mean, it would take him all of, 10 seconds to zip around every possible airspace around Earth? So I don't understand why, Brother Eye is killing all these people, controlling all these Olmecs, and Superman can't go find a satellite in 10 seconds?
I think in that regard, maybe Batman made it so that Superman couldn't find it. Since it was Batman's creation, and he made it to watch all the heroes, he might have put something in there that Superman can't find it. And
yeah, but I mean, even if it was invisible, wouldn't he smash into it if he's just flying around?
You would think so, but maybe there's something that we just don't know about it.
Because I thought that was a big glare. I'm like, okay, there's only so much orbital space. Okay, it's physics fact. You know, you can only put things so much. There's so much room before it's either in space or it's going to burn into the atmosphere. So they could just find it. I don't get it.
But I think in that time you might, and this is purely conjecture, Brother Eye might be able to summon enough Omax that he wouldn't want to hurt them. He has that aversion to hurting the Omax because he knows they're just humans inside, innocent humans, and it might get enough to be able to defend it. Boom, it goes away. It's a whole conundrum, and I agree.
It just seemed like the whole thing. Batman pulled up on his computer and he said, I can't find the satellite. It's not where it's supposed to be or whatever. Okay, that makes sense. But then that was it. It's like, okay, you have every superhero on the planet who flies and can go into space all the time, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, or whatever, all these people. They're not going to go look for the satellite? It was like a big gaping hole. I was distracted through the entire trade going, just blow up the freaking satellite already, and the whole thing's over with.
Well, I think also some of that, too, is just simple storytelling, like with the Flash in his comics, where he could probably realistically wrap up every case he's on in 2 seconds. How much fun is it to read about that? I think it's probably also that, too.
I know, but this was for me. It really bugged me because I was just like, this whole comic is pointless because they just find the satellite. I mean, the author could have come up with some reason why the satellite disappeared. Maybe he's transferring his sentience
in the OMAC trade?
In the OMAC trade. Maybe he's transferring his sentience to various satellites that are used. The CNN satellite, he's in there now. I think he just makes something up so they can't destroy every satellite, otherwise communications on the entire planet goes down. Okay, that's a good answer. Maybe they actually find this satellite, kill it, but Brother Eye's still alive. Oh, okay, and good idea. But no, they don't talk about anything, and it's just like, so I'm pissed the whole time I'm reading it. That's why I like Day of Vengeance better. Screw you, Greg Rucka. No, I mean, it was a good story. I just was distracted by that.
I have to say, reading this issue, and then I read all three, and I've read some comments where everybody was like, God, there's so much going on, and da-da-da. I really think, unlike the first Crisis, this issue especially, and this series, is about Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Like, the scenes that I really are interested in are the ones revolving around those three characters. They seem to take focus in every issue. And in here, you have sort of a payoff with at least two of them. You have Superman stepping up to the plate, rescuing that one building, doing it in a way that only Superman can do it. You have the thing with Batman that I just felt was coming, that he's starting to break down and realizing certain things. It's almost like they're trying to make him a little more human. You know, a lot of people always complain that he's too, you know, they use the word psychotic and obsessive and things like that. And it also seems like they're shaking up the Wonder Woman status quo and just everything about, like, I love all the other stuff in between, but those 3 moments really connected.
Well, how about the mascara being drawn up and no one will find it for at least the near future?
Yeah, where is it? Where'd it go?
I mean, if they seriously stick with that, and in 2 year and 2 years it's still not around, that's pretty impressive. If they stick with it.
Of course, I'd be the one to bring this up, but any thoughts on the whole Batman part of this? With he's presented with the possibility of a better life.
I really like that. I half thought he was going to break down then and say, "At least show me," and then take him back to the, I guess it's the Fortress of Solitude or wherever they're at. Well, no, it'd be where Luthor's headquarters is, and try to show him and end up taking him out. I thought maybe he'd be out of it for a little bit now.
I have to say, the one part that I think really made it interesting for me is it almost seemed as though he was willing to give it a shot, making the Earth 2, until, what about Dick Grayson? Is he a better person? And when it was pretty much came out, no, he wouldn't be. To me, at that moment, that's when I was convinced that Batman realized this isn't even an option then. And to me, I think that really drove home that Dick Grayson is really much like a son to him. And if that world doesn't make him a better person, then it's not even worth giving it a shot.
I mean, that whole scene where he's talking to Superman of Earth 2, it just feels like he's just feeling him out. You know, he keeps asking questions just to see. And part of me felt like it was more of just his detective skills kicking in. You know, like he's presented with this, and it's not that even that he's going to give a decision. He's just going to feel out this new factor, this new player in the game, and just until he's able to get that ring. And
well, how did Earth 2 Batman die?
Yeah, I have the issue where it happened. It's just some regular Joe. I think he was like an executive, an embezzler, or something like that. Bill Jensen by name, who Bruce Wayne, not even Batman, just Bruce Wayne as a police officer, like the commissioner, like personally put this guy away, and somehow he gained magical powers and came back and took his vengeance.
And you see that in that little flashback with the funeral of Batman of Earth 2 up above. You see there's a little.
Yeah, the guy in plain clothes there killing Earth 2 Batman. That's
right.
Bill Jensen right there.
How did this? Let's talk a little more broadly. How did this issue? Does it make you feel excited for the next one? Does it keep the story going? About the issue itself.
I was excited through the whole issue, but once I saw the Anti-Monitor still like they're all decayed or frozen, whatever you want to say, I got really excited because I really want to know what exactly they're going to do, and to see that they're using Breach and Lady Quark and Martian Manhunter and all those guys in there. I'm like, oh, what are they going to do? I got really excited.
Well, go ahead. I was going to say, Adam, do you want to talk about that? Because you're the one that pointed this out on the forum.
Well, honestly, one of my guesses about Alex Luthor and what he's all about so far has been, I just like Alex Luthor as a character. I remember what he was like in the first Crisis. He was sort of like this antimatter messiah guy, last son of Earth 3. He had that awesome mullet thing going on, and I wanted to believe that he's a good guy at heart. So my theory is that at the end of Crisis number 12, after Earth 2 Superman and Superboy Prime beat the crap out of Anti-Monitor for the last time, some last little bit of him possessed Alex Luthor at that point. Because, his body is half antimatter, he'd be a good host. And so all this time, that little bit of Anti-Monitor has been festering inside of Alex's brain. And now he's sort of possessed Alex, and he is manipulating Superboy Prime and Earth 2 Superman, and filling their heads with ideas of bringing back Earth 2 and all this. But I think what he's really planning is just to separate all the Earths again, not to recreate Earth 2 and make everything better, but just to separate the Earths and destabilize them and make them weaker, so that he can finish what he started, the Anti-Monitor can, in the original Crisis, and just send out the wave of antimatter to gobble them up one by one.
Because that was the original thing in Crisis, was that the multiverse was always weaker than if it just was one Earth.
Right.
And as you pointed out before, you got those characters that are pinned up to the machine that all are representatives of the Earths that merged to form the one Earth.
Mm-hmm.
You got Black Adam, which is Earth Shazam, Earth S, Martian Manhunter, Earth 1, Power Girl, Earth 2, the Ray, which I have a little problem with the Ray being the avatar for Earth X.
That's true, because his dad was technically from Earth 2. But I think there's still a possibility that this being Ray Jr.,
right,
he might have been born like a few months before Crisis, like the son of the Ray and like an Earth X native woman.
Right.
And he himself would have been then an Earth X person.
Yeah, what he said.
Well, it would have been cool if it would have... I'm surprised they didn't use Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's still floating around somewhere.
Yeah, I really want to know what happened to him.
Yeah.
What about Breach? Where does he fit in? Is he just a power? A booster?
Probably. I haven't read that series, but there's
I haven't either. I have it, but
there's a thing about like him in Dimensions or something like that.
I've read that, at least some of that series, and yeah, there's like he is in this universe, and then there's another universe where there's like his opposite number, and that universe was trying to come into this universe, and he had to stop it type deal. So I think that's where that falls in. But are they going to use this? Because if I remembered correctly, these were the things that the Monitor had put up to bring the Earths together.
Mm-hmm.
So what, are they going to use it opposite way and to separate them?
Right.
But you mean like with magnets kind of thing, that you'd have the Anti-Monitor that would kind of force them apart, whereas in the Monitor would have brought them together?
Right. Yep. And using those characters, I guess, in essence, to draw their energies of their specific Earths to help separate it.
What do you kind of interpret this to be? When I look at it, I kind of just looked at they're building some kind of device out of his carcass. The Anti-Monitors have pretty much.
Well, it wasn't some kind of device. It was these tuning forks or whatever they called them in Crisis. That's exactly the makeup of it. Now that page, when I turned this page, that was the ultimate geek moment for me when I saw the big tuning fork. And
It's funny. I never even thought of it. I just saw the Anti-Monitor and went, wow, look at that funky thing with the Anti-Monitor in it. And I only finished reading Crisis a couple months ago.
Right. The odd thing is there's a seventh place for somebody.
Yeah.
If you put Power Girl in one space and they say in this issue they're looking for Nightshade, which would be the representative of Earth 4, there's another space there.
Well, maybe Alex will plug himself in there to represent Earth 3.
Maybe.
Or to represent the Anti-Monitor, and using his powers to do the opposite of what the Monitor's powers had been.
So that'd be interesting to see what if that's just a artistic license or there really is some plot.
I don't think they do anything in this book that
Yeah,
there
I'll
isn't
tell you.
a story about.
What do you think about the other big reveal that it was Superboy that was the one that attacked John Jones and blew up the Watchtower?
As soon as I saw the last page of Earth 1, I had three possibilities. It was either Superboy, Superman of Earth 2, or, for whatever reason, the Ultraman from the Crime Syndicate. Those were the three choices that I gave myself. And I kind of couldn't see how it would be the Crime Syndicate doing anything. So I was really one of the two super people coming from that pocket that they were all in.
And because they made such a big stink about, that they were trapped in this dimension, I think that's where the buildup came. You didn't think it was going to be Superboy of Earth Prime, even though some people speculated that it could be. It still didn't make sense because we just assumed that they weren't able to break out. And then you find out that he's been out this whole time, and then, it all your expectations are blown by that.
How about that? You see you see who picked up the Scarab.
Yep. Planting the seeds for the future.
That was good old Jamie
Jaime.
D, I believe.
Sorry, I was just turning to that page.
See, wow, we're killing people just not talking about anything and just looking at the damn book. I'm just wondering
so
what
nice.
what's happening with Gotham right now. I mean, unless it's going to be covered in a book that I haven't been reading, because last time we saw the Spectre, he was in Gotham, and now all of a sudden, poof, he's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or wherever Atlantis is supposed to be. Wrecking some stuff on the bottom of the ocean.
God,
I think the what was it?
7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah, they're still running rampant in Gotham, as far
I
as
think
I know.
it's covered in both Gotham Central. Well, no, I think it's only in Gotham Central now. I think.
I think.
Oh, and Outsiders. I think there's that one issue of Outsiders with Katana on the cover and the 7 people, the 7 things around her. So it might be in that one too.
With this one page with the Flash, where do you kind of see this story going? That, as obvious, nothing in this is not planned. Everything drawn I figure is drawn for a specific reason.
Well, I think something's going to happen with his kids.
Again?
I don't necessarily think they're going to die, though. I think they may help out in some way or develop faster, or I don't know. But why bring them back and why place them so prominently in this issue?
Yeah.
I was reading his. I'm a couple months behind in the Flash, but I had been reading that, and he's been. The issue I read, he was having like nightmares about the kids. So I'm wondering if Shane's right, and there's going to be something with the kids. I know there's been talk about Vandal Savage being in this last, and kind of he's on the cover of the newest issue of the Flash. So I kind of think he'll have something to do with it. But the twins were the major part of that story that they brought back, and I was kind of like shaking my head on what they were going to do with it.
It's a nice Perez page.
Which page?
The Flash one.
Really?
My one question was, what's with the second Firestorm, who suddenly shows up in the middle of the space?
Yeah, I've been expecting to see him for a while now.
That's the Martin Steen one, right?
Is that just the elemental?
Yep.
He's not controlled by anybody. He's just the power of the elements or whatever.
That's the one. That should be Martin Steen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he calls for Ronald, and the one at the end of Firestorm, he went off in space, and because he was always supposed to be the only.
Oh, okay. I have all the. I have all these Firestorm issues. I've just never gotten a chance to sit down and read them. So.
Yeah, and there's some. Well, no, I guess there. The obvious thing is that. Ronnie's going to be thrown back into the mix, or maybe even Martin Stein or something.
Well,
like
I don't
that.
think Ronnie's going to have anything to do with it because Ronnie's not there anymore in Firestorm.
Oh no.
They did a whole thing with him, and he has stopped being.
Okay.
He kind of got like zapped. So now it's just a kid. I can't think of his name.
Jason.
But
Jason Rush.
But it's just him. He can pick out people, and right now he has like his best friend with him.
Right.
As part of the Firestorm, but he can pick out the person, and now his powers are such that in the beginning he used to kill the person he would merge with, but now he's been able to control it enough that he doesn't kill them, but he merges with them so that they see everything and they can talk to him while he's doing stuff. But Ronnie is not in the picture. Not saying he won't come into the picture somewhere.
Right,
we
right,
can't say.
right. It certainly. God, it just. I loved when Spectre just grabbed Atlantis. I thought that was so. I mean, poor Atlantis always gets picked on. Atlantis, Gotham, and Paradise Island always get picked on when it comes to these major events.
And Rand, too. Rand is like the bitch of the
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe because I didn't read the miniseries that kind of probably was the focal point of this, but what's pretty much happening out here in space?
There was like the whole Rand Thanagar war, and they had that. Boom, it was done. Then all of a sudden, there was like this big hole or big thing started in space, and everybody's been drawn to it. They don't know what it is. They don't know. And to me, it looks like the beginning of the creation of the universe from Crisis, where you saw the big hand coming out and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they're going to play that out, but that's where they are right now. They're, Donna's getting all the people together, all the heroes together to go out and investigate it, and all the, the Khunds and the Rons and the Thanagarians and that's the Iranians and the Thanagarians and all your space dominators, I guess, are out there, and all your space races are around this thing, but they really haven't. I guess it's going to be in Firestorm
and probably the next issue, because the next issue has the cover of that.
Yeah, with him like holding the one Firestorm. So I think that's a book you're going to have to get if you're going to want that story.
Oh no, I meant the next issue of Infinite Crisis.
Oh, okay.
Because it actually, especially because you see the Alexander hand, it reminds me of when he, in issue 7 of the original Crisis, where he opened up the antimatter universe to allow the heroes to pass through, in the issue where Supergirl died. Like, it kind of, I'm wondering if he's like going to connect this Crisis with that Crisis somehow, and maybe mess with time. I don't know. That's what I get from that cloud thingy. I'm not sure.
This could be where the Marv Wolfman steps in and brings, ties the two together.
Yeah.
Well, that was actually a question I wanted to bring up, because everyone kind of seemed to be pushing that maybe something with Barry would be connected to. Do you have any other guesses of what would be Marv's part that would connect the original Crisis with this one, or is that pretty much it that you think with this whole expanding?
Maybe he'll talk about Alexander Luthor and those people, what they've been doing. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Well, I know. I was just wondering what your guess would be.
Yeah, that's maybe that. Maybe. I had a geek moment when Superboy of Earth Prime ripped off Luthor's battlesuit, and he had the old Super Friends suit
with
underneath.
the flared purple collar on it.
Like,
oh
yeah, look at that. It's fun. Fun stuff.
Kind of like it where the society turned on Black Adam.
And he's going to come back with a vengeance, boy.
Oh yeah.
Once he gets out,
he really has become a cool character. I mean, since his turn in JSA and that whole Black Rain storyline in JSA and now this and Villains Unite, he's really become much more of an interesting character than ever before, I think. Yeah. For me, anyway.
He's going to be one of the main characters in the 52 event, from what I hear. Look forward to that.
Well, he's so much more of a three-dimensional character. That's what they've taken, a relative two-dimensional or even one-dimensional bad guy, I hate Billy Batson and all that. They've given him a little bit deeper, a deeper grasp, a deeper, you feel for the guy, what you kind of can see what he's going through, and then the whole, again, like you said, the whole Black Rain story and all that. It's just, I agree. He's one of my, I'd put him in the top 10 of my favorite bad guys.
I have to say the appearance of the Shadow Pact, all the people from Day of Vengeance, felt a little like they were just doing that to kind of say, oh, remember that this is also part of the story. Like, it kind of was more of a group shot than anything else.
But I think they did that mostly to set up the finding of the Scarab. Because I was just consulting the Day of Vengeance book, and they say the same city, El Paso, Texas, but in Day of Vengeance they show the Scarab landing in a field outside of the city, and here he finds it right in the middle of the city, so there's a little continuity, dropping of the ball there.
Continuing.
Yeah,
they need to, clean that up a little bit.
Well, maybe when they fix the OMAC problem.
Exactly. When they blow up the freaking satellite.
Maybe that's what the special editions are all, those special issues that are coming out.
Yeah.
Actually, the OMAC Project Special Edition is about that.
Is it really?
It's about the satellite, yeah.
Oh.
So.
I'm actually a little interested to find out what exactly that floating orb is that you constantly see when you see Alex Luthor.
Yeah, that spiky thing.
Yep.
God, I hope it's not Brainiac. I'm so sick of whenever they pop Brainiac out.
It's a pissed off Skeets. That's what it is.
30th century skeets.
Oh, come on.
That's me.
Kicking the equipment.
Sorry.
I hope it's just a device that he's like. I just got a whole Solaris vibe, the Tyrant Sun from DC 1 million, but I doubt they would connect that. So I'm sure. I hope it's just an observational kind of thing.
Maybe he was somehow able to collect some of the Anti-Monitor.
Well,
Besides himself?
Yeah, that's what we assume. It's still good. Like, it's still, when I was reading it, and then I said, okay, does it feel? If you do need some of if you want to understand what's going on, like with Firestorm and what's going out in space and what Gotham City, you do need to read the crossovers, and that's why they call it a crossover event. So there's no fooling anybody that this is like 7 issues. If you want the whole grander story, you need some of the other issues. I mean, but
Now, do you think Superboy's being played in this by Alexander, or do you think they're pretty much willing cohorts, that they're definitely working together, not so much as Luthor's just stringing him along because that's somebody that
Yes.
he can...
I think Superboy thinks he's doing okay, but I think Alex is going to turn on him.
because I mean, Superboy is really the one character that is expendable. I mean, there was no story before the original Crisis with him, except for that one DC Comics Presents.
Yeah, and that came out during Crisis.
Right. And now this, it's like, if anybody's going to go, I assume it's going to be him. I mean, if they bring him into the fold of the DC Universe, I'd be surprised.
I think that's why you kind of had him there, bemoaning the fact that look at Connor, he gets this, he gets that, I didn't get that. Yeah, it was that was kind of my wah moment. But I agree. If he's definitely being played, there's no two ways about it. He thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's definitely being played right along, and he's, Alex is using him to play Superman of Earth 2 also.
I guess it's too early to tell, but it remains to be seen if that's a good use of a character characters who've been locked away for 20 years. It's like when they bring him back, it better be something good.
Yeah.
Well, now, what do you think with going back with the Batman scene with Superman of Earth 2 with the kryptonite ring, where he says, it doesn't hurt me, at least physically. What do you think that's in reference to?
It hurt him that he didn't believe him.
Okay.
That's, to me, that because he came with the old gosh gee whiz, I'll stand behind you, buddy. We'll be buddies again, blah blah blah. And I think he was more hurt that Batman went, back off. I don't know who you are. I don't know what your plan is, but you could kill me in a second. I don't trust you. And I think that's what hurt him more. That he would try to hurt him with the kryptonite rather than believe him.
We have some interesting. There's a definite theme of like duality going on, where you have like the two Luthors. We have to have some kind of matchup between Superboy and both the Superboys, maybe even Power Girl and Supergirl. Obviously, Superman of Earth 2, and our Superman is coming in like issue 5, I think, or something like that. And it just makes me think that like when you think about the Superboy thing, it's going to happen. They're keeping Connell in the background for now. He's got to play some part. Is Superboy of Earth Prime? Is he going to turn around and turn against Alexander later, and sacrifice himself for something? But there's all these double characters that makes me think, the war that I kind of thought was going to happen between Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman is actually happening between different versions of each character, which wasn't where I thought it was going to go at first. And now that I see this, it's kind of something along that line is going to happen.
Now, which Luthor was it that set the whole I have DNA in Superboy into motion? Is it the Alexander, now the revealed Alexander Luthor, or is it the ex-president Luthor that did that?
I think it was the ex-president Luthor.
I just wasn't sure if maybe that was a whole setup too. That it was Alexander Luthor doing it, and he's been around since way long ago.
which could be. I mean, we may find out later something like, because I think one of the Titans annual spotlights Superboy, and it's an interesting thing because that's. I just assume at the end of Superman Batman 6 where President Luthor, ex-President Luthor, whatever, was in the battle suit and he was like, there shall come a crisis. I just assumed any Luthor appearance after that was actually Alexander Luthor. And Battlesuit Luthor was in hiding the whole time. That's basically what he was in the submarine or something like that. In Villains United, they revealed that. So if he's been around for that long, which was 2004, 3, something like that, where that issue came out, who knows how far back Alexander? And I guess we'll find that out later.
Because I'm just wondering if that was one of the, one of his many plots that he was trying to pull and try to use that, use him for his own gain.
Maybe he was the one who brought this new Supergirl down, and because there's still a lot of unanswered questions about her.
Just totally lost my train of thought.
Okay, we got a couple emails. First one from Brad Milo. He says, Jim Lee's cover is awesome. He says, there's a lot going on in this issue, and I won't pretend to understand it all, but I enjoyed it very much. I liked seeing Batman doubt himself and wishing he could start over. Now, my one nitpick. Can you explain why Earth 2 Superman has a lazy eye? In no less than 3 panels, pages 10, 22, and 30, he's drawn that way. I don't get it. And he says, I have a bad feeling about Wally. Peter, what's with Superman of Earth 2's lazy eye?
It's just artistic, whatever.
Do you think it doesn't have deeper meaning?
Not everything has deeper meaning. He's old. The man is old.
We got another email here. Let me pull this up. This one is a novel. It's from Colin Edison. Let me see. Wow, he wrote a book report on it here. I'm trying to find. On the whole, I like this issue of Infinite Crisis. We had a couple of big reveals here. Less surprising in learning who the villains are than seeing one surprising and familiar component of the supposed mind-wiping machine. And still, for what is said to be the biggest DC Universe event in years, I find myself missing a sense of the DC Universe, the grand scale, that would really make this feel like a crisis. What's missing? I wish you would explain. I'd be curious, because it feels like everybody's involved to me. Do you feel anything's missing?
I think he means a unifying thread. He thinks that there's too many different things going on, and he doesn't feel like it's all part of the same story.
I certainly get the sense, though, that the whole world is collapsing. Huh.
What's funny is, like, the original Crisis, a lot of the critiques of the original Crisis was that there was no main thing to follow. And they were disappointed that no major hero played a part in it, whereas I feel this one, it does. I really do feel this is a Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman story. And really, when you think about it, the big 3 are the DC Universe. I mean, if you break down all the other heroes, they're going to follow one of those 3. That's sort of how they like to play those 3.
I wish they'd get away from that, because I find them to be, played out. I want to know more about all the other characters.
And that's where the other issues come in.
I just mean in general.
52.
I just wish I wish they'd stop putting the focus on those 3 and say, hey, we got these other characters who are actually more interesting than these 3.
Show me more Bwana Beast, damn it.
Show me more of anybody.
I just thought of what I was thinking of earlier. Can someone explain to me, if Luthor was in that submarine and monitoring all this, why didn't he do something if he knew there was another Luthor out there? Or didn't he know that there was a fake Luthor out there pulling strings as well? Because sometimes it seems like our Luthor is very much with it, and then other times he's like all bewildered. And maybe that'll be explained, but if he was in hiding all this time, why Why wasn't he doing something
I
about
think
it?
that's why he wasn't hiding, because he knew somebody else was out there, and that's why he formed the society. I mean, the Secret Six.
It also seems like every time he starts thinking about this kind of stuff is when he starts having those headaches and can't remember stuff, and maybe that's a whole part of, again, his plan, his master plan type deal.
And he says it in their confrontation. They say that his Alexander Luthor's what did he say? But my theta brainwaves are much more advanced than yours. They operate on an anti-frequency and are interfering with your cognitive functions. So just the fact that you can't have, even though they're not quite opposites, you can't have them on the same Earth, I would assume. That's the tip-off there. The minute he said anti-frequency, I went, oh, wait a minute here. That the whole thing where I thought he was going to be the Earth 1 Luthor went right out the window. I was like, no, something's going on here. Anything other emails?
I was just reading this guy's
More of his
long email. He makes some interesting points. He says the only Countdown miniseries that still doesn't fit to me is Day of Vengeance. While the Spectre's destruction was shocking, I still don't see its role, short of bringing in the new Blue Beetle. He says, which brings me to one aspect of Infinite Crisis that somehow disappoints me, and that I'm somewhat sorry to see. Does anyone remember back in Zero Hour those minuscule scenes that flashed in on the Primal Force or Theodore Knight in the hospital with his sons? Those scenes that were so short, so gratuitous, that you couldn't help but recognize them as advertisements, breaking up the flow of the story. We see them here in Infinite Crisis, both with Blue Beetle and with Corrigan in one issue. Identity Crisis, I felt, handled these rather well, perhaps because it was a murder mystery. I didn't worry about the scene with Lex Luthor's suit outside Identity Crisis, even though it appeared later in Teen Titans. These are the trappings, I think, that make crossovers fail, bogging them down in marketing. For something as significant as Infinite Crisis, I hope they stop.
But the whole point of Infinite Crisis is for the crossover event. I think that's the thing people forget. That as much as Dan Didio and Joe Quesada tell us that you don't need to read these other parts, you're going to get them. Who are they kidding if you really believe that? You know what I mean? These are events. They're crossover events.
I guess that's maybe because I'm in the same boat. I just want somebody to do an event that's self-contained. Just here's a big freaking story, and you can read about it here in these 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever issues, and it's just going to be fun. And it's just a series in and of itself. That's what I want.
Well, and you can do that when you have something like Hush. That was a big event that happened in a self-contained 12 issues, and that was it. But when you're talking about a major crossover like this, you're gonna span the whole universe. You're gonna touch upon everything, and you're gonna want to read different parts of it that happen.
I'm not reading any of the crossover stories, and I'm just reading along. This is the 3rd issue. I don't feel that I've missed anything.
Right.
Well, and there's another interesting aspect that when this is all over, that we'll see how you view the rest of the universe compared to how some of us who are reading more of the underlying stories to flesh out some of the lesser storylines, how they compare.
Yeah, because when you're reading this week to week, monthly, or whatever, you see the other issues and how they fit in between these things. And yeah, the Shadow Pact appearance and the Blue Beetle thing is all set up. It's all set up. But I understand that going in, that. And what's funny is
expect it.
What's funny is that I think we said this exact opposite when we talked about House of M. We said it was so contained that we wished it would have played out in some of the other things. And here we are, like he's pointing out that this one is not self-contained, or that you know what I mean. It's funny that it really just depends on the way the publisher handles the events. I mean, I see crossover events as being line-wide, whether it's House of M, Infinite Crisis, whatever, because I understand that that's the mentality. When I'm going in to buy this, I'm not buying just these 7 issues. I'm buying other things. I understand that. So it's kind of funny.
I guess I would love if they would do something like this. I mean, they never would because they'd lose money, but just stop publishing all the titles. Just put them on hiatus for a couple months. And if it means that's going to cost you money, then get different artists to draw different issues and then have it every week or twice a month or whatever, so that you speed it up. Instead of taking 7 months, it takes 3 months. And there are no Superman and Batman and JSA, nothing. It's just you read this. This is the DC universe for the next 3 months, and that's it. That would be more, and they could be fatter issues, and there could be more issues because you have to tell more story then. But I'd like to just, because we always complain, every crossover that any of us have ever read, we always complain that, I bought that one issue and it had one panel that dealt with the crossover. And you want to punch somebody in the face because you feel like they robbed you of $3. So, and then sometimes they go back and they publish the Super Deluxe Ultimate Collected Edition, and they show that one freaking panel in there. And it's like, oh, thanks. Because they admit that that's all you needed to read.
Right.
So why don't they just have the balls to say, this is it. This is the DC universe for 3 months or 4 months. There are no other books. Focus on this. Talk about this. This is the whole story right here, goddammit.
Isn't that what I said about House of M?
Did you?
Yeah. It's exactly what I said. Why didn't have the balls to say, this is it?
I agree with you.
There was no other Marvel. This was, boom. Every other book has to deal with this. Has to deal with this reality, and that was it.
And like Marvel should do that if they're doing this big Civil War thing. Well, obviously it's going to affect every title if it's the freaking Civil War. So again, the whole thing, nothing, no books that month while Civil War happens.
I mean, the only crossover that really did that was Secret Wars. They had the crossover with all the heroes. The one issue, they all went away to it. The very next issue, they came back, and they didn't talk about it until you got
a year later. You found out what happened.
You found out exactly what happened, and there were some that you had found out, like the Spider-Man black suit and stuff like that, but you didn't know exactly what it was. You didn't know how he got it, and that was really the only one I can think of.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is because it was the first one, they didn't even think that they had to do something like that. It wasn't until the crossovers. Because I don't even think of that. That's
Secret
more...
Wars 2, they came out, and then they had to. They were sticking the Beyonder into all the different issues, and they had all this, the Secret War 2 issues.
Secret Wars is the first event, and Crisis is the first crossover event. That's how I would look at it. Yeah, and because of that,
so DC's to blame for all this stupid nonsense.
But what they were doing, they had to do, because again, it had to affect each of the books. So you had to have those crossover issues because you had to see how it was affecting.
That's what
and like Wolfman said, the editors didn't want to do it at first, but then when they saw how good it was going and how well it was selling, boom, everybody was stepping in line, wanting to be part of it. So.
Right.
See what they? Oh, I'm sorry, I was just
as much as some of us like Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think if they would have jumped on board with it right away, it would have been that much better of a story. As much as we like it now, but still have some problems with it, I just wonder just how much better it would have been if everybody would have jumped on right at one time, because then you would have had what you're talking about. Everything would have dealt with that. Everybody would have been about Crisis. But you didn't get that until like issue 7.
Well, I think that's why some of these setups, and they're very obvious setups, and I understand that as I'm reading it, I think that's why they're going to play out better than they would 20 years ago. Because we know that for the past 2 years, all these people have been mapping it all out.
It's a joint effort.
Yeah. So they know that Blue Beetle. This is all just a setup for the new miniseries, and of course, what's been coming out this past week, but endless articles on the new Blue Beetle with page previews and things like that. So it's very timed. It's a very which to me it's like the Super Bowl, and it's like the World Series of comics. This is. You pay more for advertising during that, and you market the hell out of it because you're trying to garner interest.
I mean, it's working because I'm going to read 52. I may pick up a couple of the 1 year later issues. I'll probably read JSA because it's my favorite, and I don't know. I might scan them and pick up a different one or two others, but I'm not buying any of these freaking crossovers. I refuse to do that because I refuse to play that game. That's not. I think it's just annoying. As a comic fan, it's annoying.
But you read some of those. You read JSA though,
No,
right?
I'll wait for trade.
Well, the crossover will be in that.
Well, sure, and I'll get it then, but I'm not gonna buy it. 1 year later, and 52 are forcing me to buy some monthly comics again.
Right.
This is not other than the series itself.
Right.
You know,
which is fine if that's the way you want to read it. You know.
And Identity Crisis was the same way. I was still reading a couple monthlies at that point, but then I kind of stopped right around that time. So I've just finally read something in trade. It was like, oh look, Identity Crisis. Yeah, it's only a year later.
Yeah.
You know, there's been nothing to get me to buy books that I don't normally buy as far as this crossover goes, but I just happen to read most of the books that it seems to be crossing over into.
Same here.
Yep.
Now, if somebody wanted to lend me issues of something, I'd read them, but they're not getting $3 from me or $2.50 or whatever. You're not that good of a marketer, Dan.
Well, obviously he is, because he's getting people to read his books. That's for damn sure. The drop off from 1 to 2 was surprising that 2 still hit the 2,000 mark. I was kind of
200,000.
200,000, yeah. That's huge. I mean, it dropped off considerably from like I think 240,000 to like 200,000, but that's a huge drop off.
We think people just weren't impressed with the first issue that they.
Just more people buy first issues. That's
right.
what it is.
Right.
Or they just got multiple copies of number 1.
Well, no, because it's what the retailers order.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. There are more people out there that just
Right, but I
buy
mean, the
issue
retailers
1.
buy it because they knew that some people would buy 2 copies instead of 1 copy.
Sure.
Because it's number 1. That's what I mean. At least when I worked at the comic store, there were lots of people. If they, instead of just, it's a title they never read, but it's number 1, so they'll buy 2 copies of it, and then they won't even buy issue 2. So it's not just that 240,000 people are buying issue 1. It's that.
Is that like origin issues as well?
Whatever. They just.
What does that say about me? I end up with 3 because I order 2 and I pick up 1 at the store.
I'll have 2 of this whole set because I'm ordering 1 even though I'm buying it. It's like, I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that with 52. I'm not ordering 52. I'm just buying it at the store and that's it. It's stupid. I don't need 104 issues.
I bet you can sell that on eBay though.
Yeah.
God, you know that when that last issue of 52 comes out, everybody's going to be putting that on eBay.
Yeah. I got to clear out some room in my house. I'll sell 52. I hope that works well because I'd like to see them try it again with something else.
Well, and I didn't mind the format of Action Comics Weekly, even though the stories were weak, very weak. I like the idea, and like Brian, I hope it does work that they do something else with it.
Adam, you want to do some Crisis trivia?
I'm game if you are.
I pulled out most of this is the original Crisis. I pulled out most of the questions that I have. Just because Adam's joining us and he's a major...
The Rain Man of DC trivia.
Yeah.
Definitely.
His thesis is on it.
Oh, how's that coming along, by the way?
Slowly but surely.
Well, is that going to be a book of the month when he's done?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Who is the first costume character to be killed in Crisis on Infinite Earths?
All right. I'm almost certain that it's going to be a member of the crime syndicate of Earth 3. I'm just trying to remember which one of them did it first. Boy. No, it wasn't Ultraman. I know that. I'm going to say Johnny Quick of Earth 3.
Superwoman.
Shit.
Great start there, Murdo.
All right.
Never mind.
Here's an easy one. Which 5 Earths were merged at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths?
1, 2, SX, 4.
Yeah. Name 3 Titans members that were killed in the Crisis.
Okay. I can give you 2 right off the bat. You got Cole and you got Dove.
Mm-hmm.
Got those. And Aqua Girl.
Yep. Name the only Infinity Inc. member to appear on the cover to Crisis on Infinite Earths 1.
I'm going to say Obsidian.
You'd be correct.
I have a poster of that in my room, so... Bless you.
Excuse me.
Which 30th century hero died in Crisis on Infinite Earth?
Kid Psycho.
Yes.
He has a turban.
I'm not going to be able to stump him on this. Who destroyed Chemo in the Crisis?
Negative woman.
Yes, yeah.
Valentina Vostok. Wrapped herself around him very suggestively and just made him gush all over the place.
All right, I'm going to pull out a hard one here.
Which happens when usually a woman wraps herself around me too. That's
what I'm thinking.
Name the 3 Earth S villains that appeared on the All Villains cover of Crisis number 9.
Well, we got Dr. Savannah and Black Adam. That's right off the bat. Trying to think who else was in there. Running through some possibilities, man. I don't think King Kull was involved at all. I don't think Mr. Atom was on there either, although he did show up in Infinite Crisis. I was glad to see him in there. I don't think Mr. Mind's World, Mind Tripper was on there at all. What the hell? How about Iback?
Jamie, you say you have a guess?
yeah. Well, I would have thought it would be Mr. Mind.
It's Captain Nazi.
Oh, crud. Yeah, that's right.
That was on the tip of my tongue.
Jabba the Hutt. Oh, wait. That's the wrong trivia. Sorry.
Yachamichu.
What 2 JLA members died in the Crisis?
Does Red Tornado count?
No.
He was kind of blown apart. All right, let's see. JLA members. Wonder Woman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sheesh. I have the official index to the Crisis that they came out.
Well, the other one's
back in the day.
that's the one I thought you wouldn't get. What's the other one's the obvious one.
Oh God, Barry Allen.
Right.
Jamie's over here striking in a running pose. I'm just thinking,
I knew that.
what, Flower of Easy Company, Lori Lamaris.
So you're pulling all those out of your ass, and you can't forget the Flash.
Sorry, my ass is very selective about these things.
This wasn't in Crisis, but it was revealed later. What is Pariah's real name?
His name is Masa Kel, or Kel Masa. Well, I like Pariah. I really want to see more of him.
I hope he shows up too. What were you going to say?
I was going to go, Flash.
Who was the only Marvel character to appear in Crisis?
Peter Parker.
That is correct.
Yep, he's on the giant poster.
In Spider-Man out?
No, just with
He's
a camera.
taking a picture in like issue 12, I think. You see him in the back, or one of the, I forget what issue. You see him taking a picture.
I know what you're talking about on that big Alex Ross poster.
Yeah, just slipped him in there.
I like how Barry Allen makes it into the Marvel Universe after he dies.
Yeah.
Right. That issue of Quasar.
Yep.
That's classic.
Let's see. One more. What parallel Earth was destroyed in the 1998 special Legends of the DC Universe Crisis on Infinite Earths?
That would be Earth D.
You'd be correct.
D for diversity.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's all the questions you have there.
I have some other one. I mean, he knows them.
Maybe the audience doesn't, though.
Okay, let me
We
see.
didn't know the first one.
Besides Supergirl, what other female member of the Superman family died in the Crisis?
Lori Lamaris?
Mm-hmm. You just mentioned that not so long ago. Which forgotten hero died?
Immortal Man? He got better. He always does.
The origin of the DC Universe was explained to which 6 characters before the battle which Supergirl died in?
I think I remember this. Or maybe I don't.
They were all basically representatives of their Earth.
Okay, I think I do then. Let's see, it's the 2 Supermen, the Earth 1 and the Earth 2. Uncle Sam, Blue Beetle, Captain Marvel,
One more.
and one more. Lady Quark.
Yep.
Good.
When in doubt, say Lady Quark. That's what.
Which Earth is Lady Quark from?
Earth
I think we said
6?
this, yeah. Uh,
I want them to explain why Pariah could save Lady Quark.
Yes,
and
they
why
never
he didn't
did.
save.
You know, when we did the Book of the Month on Crisis, Brian asked me this, and I was just like, duh. I was reading the novelization at the time, and Wolfman still didn't trouble himself to explain it. You know, just...
Which ocean was Lila found in? The woman who would become Harbinger.
The Atlantic?
Yeah.
All right. When in doubt, say Atlantis.
Name the 3 Earth 2 heroes that died in the Crisis.
Huntress, Earth 2 Robin, and Earth 2 Green Arrow.
That is correct. No stopping it. Name the only 4 Earth 2 characters who appeared on the cover to Crisis number 1.
Okay, well, I know Earth 2 Superman was on there. We already mentioned Obsidian.
Yep.
He was the only Infinity Inc. member, so Jade is right out. She couldn't have been there.
I love his thought process.
Well, I think they were all like among the group of characters that was originally selected
Yes.
by the Monitor. So, Psycho Pirate?
Yes?
All right, there's that. Firebrand.
Yes.
Sweet.
Good lord.
Danette Riley.
I think we're going to have to put him up against Jamie of Earth 2.
Oh, yeah, he's the guy who was able to come up with Johnny Thunder when he was half asleep, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Say you.
That's it for my questions. Jesus.
That was
So
fun.
for sure, some of those villain cover ones are kind of hard if you don't know that cover. You know.
Yeah, well, I've stared at it often enough. I mean, it's Perez artwork, easy on the eyes. And all,
Yeah.
But I'm a little upset I didn't come up with Captain Nazi, though.
And how many years are you backlogged in your reading?
6 at this point.
Jeez. Oh, I don't feel so
Wow.
bad then.
Yeah.
I don't feel so bad then. Wow.
Yeah, a month and a half I'm behind doesn't look too bad.
I'm 3 right now, and I'm freaking out.
Do you want to real quick give your toy thing?
Yeah, I can. On the forum, I posted some pictures of the new DC superhero, more articulated figures, and I brought in the Batman one to show everybody. And we all agree that the neck and shoulders is a little bit awkward.
I don't agree.
Brian doesn't agree.
I like it.
Brian likes it.
He's wrong.
What I don't like about it is
Turning your mic off.
it's missing some crucial articulation. Now, I don't want it to be overly articulate like some of the Marvel Legend figures have become, but like down around where his hip meets his legs, I wanted to be able to not that I would put Batman in a split position, but I want to be able to put him in a crouching position, and you can't do that without a ball joint around his hips. Not that kind of ball joint. That's what it's called. Quiet, Matt.
One, just say something.
But there is some things that they've missed on making this figure the way it should be, and I'm hoping they improve on that as time goes on. I didn't open any of the other figures. The Bane one does not look impressive. I like the Scarecrow one the best myself. But I think also to get this wave out quickly, it looked like they took the original Mattel Batman figures that first came out where everybody couldn't find Killer Croc and everybody couldn't find Mr. Freeze, that wave, and they kind of shrunk them down a little bit and used that as the basis for the molds for all these to kind of get them out quick and see how they would work for some of the more complicated articulation they did put on here. But I'm just hoping that they improve on it. So while I wouldn't give this one exactly a glowing review, I have high hopes that they will get better as time goes on.
You know, it almost looks like that special edition one that they offered at the Comic-Con. I think it was in 2004 with the where you could get. There's 3 different versions, but they were pretty much a Batman pulling back his mask.
Yeah, it does. The a little bit about the material they used. The head, hands, gloves and the cape are made of a softer rubber type material. Everything else is a hard plastic. It feels like a solid figure. It's got some good weight to it, so I don't think it's just going to break on a whim or anything. They put some cool detail on the bottom of the boots. They have a bat symbol that probably not a lot of people took a look at. It comes with 3 accessories, not great accessories: a batarang, bat cuffs, and a grapple propeller or something. I don't know what it would be called. But like I said, I have high hopes for the rest of the series. they did some good things on here with the arms and the biceps and kind of copying how Marvel does their articulation in those areas, but just hoping that they get a little bit better at it. Put just a little bit more in, not too much, just a little bit.
How many points of articulation is on it? They say on the box at all? Or?
Not off the top of my head, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, maybe 19 or 20 if you're lucky.
See, I like that his legs don't move as much because all I want from my fingers is I want him to stand up. And because he doesn't have those extra joints in his legs, he stands up more easily.
Well, see, and that's and I know you don't get a lot of these, but that's where I get the DC Direct ones for my statuesque type figures. Right. Whereas that one,
see, he just freaking stands there.
Whereas those,
that one Shane can play with if
yeah, that's right.
More together.
You know, when everyone goes to bed and I'm up playing with my figures at night. That's what I want. But I wanted to put him like I have all my Marvel Legends set up in cool positions, looking outward like they're battling something, and I can't do that with this. He just basically has to stand or sit.
All my Marvel Legends are just standing there.
Does anybody have any last-minute thoughts on Infinite Crisis?
I want to know where Booster Gold was in this issue.
I'm just looking forward to the next issue.
Yep.
Which is the one that's something massive supposed to happen that jumps everything a year ahead? Is that between 5?
That's a lie, isn't it? Not. Isn't that not happening? Isn't this just tell the continuous story and then?
I thought they said they had stopped that and they weren't going to do the whole that this was going to come out, then it was going to be 52, and then that was they were going to jump the year ahead, but I don't think there's anything big. 52 was going to come out. It was one of those where it was going to be
the end of this,
and then 52 was going to start up, and then they were going to finish this while 52 was started, and now 52 is going to.
Yes, I think something monumental happens at the end of 5, but I don't know how it relates to everything.
I just kind of assume that from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, whatever it is, that when you pick up the new issue, they're just a year ahead.
Right.
I didn't think there was anything explaining or showing or a big to-do. It was just like snapping a finger, there you are, a year ahead. Yeah. And that's what 52 explains.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it'd be like in House of M, where it'd be this white flash, and all of a sudden, the next issue, it's a year. That's continuing the story in the Infinite Crisis, pretty much a year ahead, and then everything else, had also jump started a year, with 52 filling in that.
See, I just got the idea that if all these series are starting, that we don't even get a taste of that, even in Infinite Crisis, because then it kind of ruins the surprise for. I mean, if you read previews, it kind of tells you what. But I haven't even. I've been skipping all those threads, and I haven't been looking through the previews or whatever. It's like,
stay away from. That
okay, what
issue.
do I want? I like JSA. I'll try that. Something is going to be changed about it, or something's going to be changed about Batgirl, or whatever. It's like, I don't want to know. I just want to read the book.
I have to say, I was actually disappointed that Wizard had so much stuff in there because I skipped a lot of it.
I couldn't read the whole issue.
Like, why would you do that? I don't even know why DC allowed that to happen. It just seemed to spoil so much.
Yeah, why they would put out all that information.
After being so tight-lipped for so long and giving information at the right times, why would you bog a whole magazine issue down like that?
Because I guess because they this was the month that all those issues came out for solicited, so that's why. Which doesn't make I'm not agreeing with it because I think it's like you said, it's too much information. I just want to read it. I'll read it. Back off.
I mean, it's bad enough that I stumbled upon some of the title names that are coming up that ruined a little bit of things that are going to happen. At least in my mind, they ruined because it's not going to be quite as big a surprise.
Yeah, we said it before. We're spoiled in this day of age with the internet and with just how.
But the companies could restrict that information if they wanted to. This month's previews could just say
1 year
Batman
later.
1 year later.
Yeah.
JSA 1 year later, Flash 1 year later, whatever. It doesn't have to have a description. Why do you need to know a description?
Could
you keep something freaking surprise?
Right.
Yeah. The only one that would give it away is Hawk Girl instead of Hawk Man. It's like, ooh, well, something happened there, but that's you don't have to have a description.
Well, to some extent, I think
I'm having an overload right now, an anal retentive, spoiler hating overload.
I think for the one issue of Batman, I think it seemed. They gave you a little information to know a little bit of what's happening a year in advance, but not enough they still left it vague enough that you have no idea unless you pick it up exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Or what's happening.
Because, no one's living in a vacuum. No one who reads DC Comics doesn't know that there's a crisis going on.
Right.
And if you happen to wake up from a coma the first day of March, when the first Wednesday of March, when new books start shipping, and the first place you go is your comic book store, and you wander in, probably the first paragraph in that first issue you read will start talking about the fact that a freaking crisis just happened, or a year ago, or whatever. It's so stupid. They again, just have the balls.
I don't think it's going to say anything. I'll be honest with you. It's just going to be boom, a new issue, because they've already said that. That's why you're going to read 52.
Well, all right, but you know what I mean. It's just either way, it's interesting, and it's one of those things. Just have the courage to say we don't need to sell this month. It's going to sell itself because everyone knows.
But I think they are having that is the courage that they're showing. Because this year ahead, they're taking a major leap. They're going to say, you're going to love these characters so much that you're going to trust us to tell a story that will take another year to find out the full ramifications or what brought us to this point a year ahead of time. And that, to me, takes a lot of balls.
Especially if they really go through that year.
Uh-huh.
And it's because it's like where that first issue starts, and 1 year later, a year later, 12 issues later, it's still that same story. Yeah, I mean, and this has every potential to flop.
Yeah.
It has sales could drop on so many books because.
I mean, all of a sudden, I'm just trying to think of something happens. All of a sudden, there's a female Batman suddenly shows up, and you're
You mean
like,
Batgirl?
No, I mean a female Batman, as in this is Batman. Batwoman, okay, I'll say Batwoman. And, Bruce Wayne is now nowhere, and, Dick Grayson, and all of a sudden, they're expecting you to go for 12 issues before you find out why there is now, Helena Wayne, or whatever, they might want to say Selena Wayne, is Batwoman. And you're like, well, what the... So to me, that is, they are putting... If they're going to do this, they are putting a lot of faith in the fact that you love Batman enough that you're going to stay there for 12 issues to find out why this issue, why this happened, and kudos to them.
It's like a soft reboot.
Yeah, basically.
Well, didn't they sort of do that at the Secret Wars, where one issue, like you said, they disappeared. Next issue, they came back.
Right.
They kind of made some references. But for a whole nother year, you really didn't know what happened.
Yeah, it just made you wonder, and it made you interested in the series. I mean, again, like we said, that was the first one, so they didn't know how much to play around with, and they probably could have played around with it a lot more.
Yeah, because really there wasn't, your main things were the fact that, Spider-Man came back with a new costume.
She-Hulk was in the Fantastic Four.
She-Hulk joined the Fantastic Four. The Things stayed on the Beyond, and I know... Again, for spoiling stuff, too bad. This is a whole spoiler episode. The Things stayed on the Beyonders world.
Yeah, but it says Infinite Crisis, not Secret Wars.
Well, write the letters to me. I don't care.
I didn't know.
But and that was really your main ramifications. There wasn't. There were. I guess Molecule Man became a big villain because he hadn't really been much of a villain before.
And there are two new villains.
Yeah, and a couple
plus Spider-Woman.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
We keeping you up.
It is midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple new villains.
It's almost Christmas
villains.
Eve in 3 more minutes.
Oh yeah.
Well, you had the new Spider-Woman as well.
Yeah. So I mean, there were ramifications, but there weren't like earth-shattering ramifications that I feel are going to come out of this series. So we'll see. They may have just taken that and are going to, as Emerald says, kick it up a notch. So.
Damn. Did Doom disappear a little bit after what happened at the end?
Why are we talking about Secret Wars? Shut up. Adam, any last thoughts?
I really hope Alex Luthor isn't really evil, because I'm a fan. And I also hope Pariah shows up and straightens his little brass-plated ass out.
Brass-plated.
He borrowed it from C-3PO.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me.
Cool.
All right.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's plenty. That's enough.
We've rambled
crisis.
on long enough.
Yeah.
Send us your thoughts.
Yep. Get ready for next month.